Hey guys, welcome back to Chris and Retro. Tonight's video, I'm going to talk about a concept that I have in my upcoming book. The book is probably another year away yet, but I've been working on it for about 2.5 years. Initially, I went through and basically just told a bunch of stories that were really around recovery principles and things like that. But I realized quickly that there has to be some kind of a construct much bigger than just our storytelling for it to mean anything. And so I came up with a concept, and I'll share that with you a little bit tonight. If you guys try to steal it, I'm going to tell my mom, and she'll be really mad. But seriously, though, I've got this. I think it's something that might make sense for you, and I certainly did with me. And hopefully, I'm not too insane at this point. Tomorrow night, I have a guest, Taylor Eng. I think it's Engi is how I pronounce it. Sorry, Taylor, if I got it wrong. She's got a fight coming up this weekend. She's a K1 fighter, and she fights at 115 pounds. I'm looking forward to having her on the show tomorrow night. She's got a tremendous background, and she's a recovery champion. She's just hit her 2-year mark of sobriety, but there's a lot behind her story. I think is pretty remarkable. I've never met her before. I was introduced to her through a mutual friend of mine that when I used to fight in cage combat, Randy Smith, who was a former pro boxer. His son, Nate Smith, you've seen on the show, fought for the United States in K1 as well. And so she comes with a lot of credibility in my book, and I'm looking forward to meeting her along with you. So we'll get a chance to meet somebody pretty remarkable from what I understand. And she's a fighter, so you can't go real wrong with that, right? Anyway, so I'm looking forward to that conversation tomorrow night. We're probably going to record it about 8 o'clock, so we'll drop it somewhere after that if you're curious, and we'll push it around the social media. So what are we talking about here? Well, on the show, a lot of times I talk about being a fellow traveler, this notion that we're on a journey together. And I think that we all would agree we really are, especially in the recovery community. With my recent struggles and the things that I've shared on the show within the last few days that I expressed, some problems I was having before that, it really took a community around me for me to feel bold enough to say, you know what? It's time for me to fess up and let you guys know what's going on in my world and the decisions I made that weren't necessarily the best ones. But, there's some concepts that go along with this that I believe hold true. And so when we really try to set out on a recovery journey, when we actually really want to get better and we're going to go to any length to make that happen, there has to be some kind of there has to be some consistent elements that say beyond the steps, that say these are the things that make us successful. And so what I found with what I've created, what I've from feedback of others and the construct that I've put in this, that I'll have in the book, but I'm also going to share some of it with you tonight, is really born out of the idea of what does excellence look like? It's not just recovery, but if I'm going to be excellent at anything, if I'm going to be number one at anything, what are the things that I need to do to make sure that that commitment is solid and that I'm going to make that happen? What are the things I need to do? And so I tried to boil it down to something real simple. So under the notion of being a fellow traveler and the journey that we're on, I came up with a concept called M.A.P. Now, M.A.P has 3 components to it: mindset, action plans, and promises kept. And I'm going to walk through that a little bit with you guys tonight quickly, but I want to make sure that you guys get a sense of where I'm headed with this. In any, we'll talk to Taylor tomorrow, and I don't know Taylor, but I imagine that a lot of things that Taylor's dealing with right now might be a little bit of nerves this weekend. Fights are fights, man. I mean, I don't care how tough you are or how good you are. You still get some nerves when you're getting ready to fight. So how do you get ready for a fight? Well, your mindset has to be correct. And, for me, the mindset is really saying, okay, I accept the situation as it is. So the circumstance around me, for my mindset to be correct, I have to accept what it is that I'm facing. The second thing is I got to make sure I'm authentic Chris. So who I am, I need to bring to the table. Anything fraudulent on that is going to derail what I'm trying to accomplish, because now I'm trying to keep track of whatever this other person is I'm supposed to be, at the same time being focused on this objective that I have before me. Being me all the time, I find to be tremendously useful in that mindset and that framing of my head in terms of why I'm trying to deal with something or how I'm trying to deal with something. The next one is to have an uncompromising focus. No matter what, you'll go forward. I think of Conor McGregor before he completely fell apart, and I've quoted him on here before, but this was really inspirational to me early on in my recovery in 2017. And that is, I will go forward and I will go at him. When I was fighting in cage combat, that was something in my training that just really stuck with me, is just that notion of going forward and going at them. Now, there's probably my skill set didn't match that mindset, but I'm telling you, that was my mindset going in. So with that, we have to make sure that we frame that mindset and make sure that, and I believe, document it. So for me, my daily journal, which I harp on all the time on here, but it has a lot to do with this whole thing, is when we talk about getting things correct, my journal allows me to set my goals for the day, remind myself that I have worth through a positive statement about myself, remind myself I have plenty of things to be thankful for, no matter how things are going, and giving thanks in there. And then the last one for me, because of my spiritual belief system, I pray, and I pray to invest in others. And I've shared that with you in other videos. I'm going to share with you again, because that's how I get my mindset correct for the day. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll see sometimes I do daily journals over there. In those daily journals, a lot of them are mindset concepts. How do you get ready? So that's M for MAP. The second one is action plans. This, I think that if there was one thing I did after my last incarceration that probably was the most important thing that I could have done, was have a very deliberate plan. And so when I left, I had the life recovery plan. My life recovery plan was basically an Excel spreadsheet with a bunch of dates and action plans on it and accountability partners. I had two. One was a sponsor and one was my dad, of all people, my father. Still as an adult, I was 40 some years old. And my father was the one that was helping me manage that whole thing. 45, I believe it was. So what I would do is I'd set due dates on there for all these items. And I mean, it was everything. I mean, it was everything from catching up on phone bills to, making meetings to, working out, all of it. And it started, I got out at 12:15. It started at 7:00 in the morning the next morning. And that is when that whole thing worked. It was a 90-day plan, and I stuck with that plan rigorously. And lo and behold, things worked out. Now, while you're going through that, you have to recognize that not everybody's coming along with you. Your support system, your loved ones, everything else might not know why it is you're being such a friggin' madman towards this plan. Sometimes it just comes across, you're like, what is this guy's problem? Why won't he stop? Well, I got news for you. For my life, I can't stop. I have to keep moving forward, because what I found out recently, as soon as I get lazy, man, all heck breaks loose. So I need to make sure I've got rigor around my recovery journey, and I have accountability around it. And sometimes that requires very deliberate planning, especially early on. While I realize that people around me might not get it, I have to be empathetic to them and understand that they don't really get it yet, that they don't understand what's going on in my head and why it is I have to be so serious about this. But I can't lose sight of what I'm trying to do, and I can't lose my accountability, even though I'm being empathetic towards them. I need them to hold me accountable, even though they might not understand. And for those in recovery, or have had a couple seasons of recovery here and there, you know what I'm talking about with that one. The next step is to make promises. Now, the reason I say that seems like an obvious thing, but a lot of times we hear people say, okay, well, I keep my promises all the time. Well, that's great. I'm glad you do keep your promises all the time. But when did you actually make a promise that you allegedly keep? It's real easy to have yourself noble when you've actually never really put your toe on the line. I refer to Taylor tomorrow, man. She's going to put her toe on the line. Other fighters put their toe on the line. Many people put their toe on the line. If you don't acknowledge what you're going to do and declare what you're going to do, how do you ever know you've accomplished anything? So making promises is super important in your action plans, because what it does do is it gives you a benchmark to say that you actually did something. I've talked in the show about how important progress is. Today, kind of an aggravating day as I'm getting back on my feet here with a lot of different things, settling in with, with Sam getting the treatment that she needs. There's been a lot that's been put on my plate, and I'm okay with it, but there's been a lot put on my plate and a lot of stuff that we've had to clean up here and there. And, one of those things is just dealing with the DMV, an electrical issue in the house. We had DMV issues. We had a couple things going on today. We're just aggravating. But in the end, in my journal, all of my goals that I had set for this morning got all checked off, including an expense report that was overdue at work, which was hanging over my head as well. These are all things that are progress things, but because with my actions led to progress that led to motivation. So now I'm ready to go tomorrow even better. More refreshed, if you know what I mean. So one element that you can do on action plans, I think this is where those of us in recovery have good intentions. Actually, not even just in recovery, in business as well. I see that with my team, my sales team. I see it with, colleagues of mine. We don't set appointments with ourselves to get things done. That's entirely okay. You don't need to have somebody else in a meeting to set an appointment with yourself to get something critical done. Put a reminder. I started doing that back in college, and as soon as I stopped doing that, some big things slip. So, we've got technology. You got your phone in front of your face all day long. Set an appointment for yourself to do something basic, something that has been lagging over your head. Or if you're like me, one of your triggers is procrastination, something that you've been putting off that's really weighing heavily on you, make an appointment. That's MA, mindset, action plans. And now we'll get to the P, Promises kept. You keep your promises. Well, no kidding, Chris. You keep your promises. Well, I'm just telling you that if you make a promise, the first part of that equation is to actually make it. Put your toe on the line and make a declaration. I'm going to do this. I promise you. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll see. Okay, we'll see. Watch me. Then come back and you keep that promise. And like, oh my God, he did do that. And that person's not really that reliable, and he's doing that. There must be a change there. And then you do it over and over again, and they're like, oh my goodness, that person is completely changed. I see it. They're committing. They're delivering. Powerful, powerful example for those around you. And then what you're doing is rallying support, because now they believe that you're serious and you're not just doing another run. You're not going to break their heart. You're not going to use their resources only to come back to ground zero again. They see that as serious. In promises kept, though, we can't isolate. So we have to make sure that we get continually out in front. And that kind of goes along with the action plans as well. It's along with our mindset as well. We erode our mindset if we're isolating. We erode our actions if we're isolating, because we're not out doing the things we need to do to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And then the last piece, which is really important, and this is a core element of any recovery program, is you got to give it back to keep it. We got a guest tomorrow, and we've had guests on the show all along, that they're giving back their story because it's benefiting them as well. It helps us bolster what it is. It's also accountability. In some respects, it's a promise kept. We said we were going to stay sober, and part of the way we stay sober is by giving back that story, or giving back the message of hope, or just a lesson learned, or a cautionary tale, whatever it is, but give it back. That's the promises kept piece. So your MAP is mindset, action plans, and promises kept. Those three things, I think, are critically important, especially early on in recovery, as we start to get to those good habits and those things that say, I'm going to do this every single day. And then at some point, I'm just going to do it because that's just who I am, who I've become. But in the meantime, all of these things you're doing are not just 12 steps. They're not just going to a meeting. And I'm not mocking that stuff, but I think it gets a little cliche. I don't think it solves all of our problems. Why not? Because why not take it to the next level to say, look, I'm a high performing individual because I did things that most people can't do. I got clean and sober, and I'm living a life that came out of the impossible, absolute dumpster fire. I can say that's true about me. I don't know about you, but I can say it's true about me. So why not take these other high performance elements of things I'm already doing in recovery and completely revitalize my life? And that's what I believe this type of mind, if your mindset is correct and you've got clear action plans with accountability and due dates, and you make those promises and you keep those promises, you don't isolate and you start giving that back, you're now a high performing individual. You're now a captain of the team. You're now leader in your company. You're now the go-to when people are struggling. You're now the go-to when people are looking for leadership, because you took that struggle and your pain became not only a pathway to peace, but it was a pathway to high performance. I firmly believe that. And that's why it is that the structure I've come up with. Progress to me leads to that feeling. That felt good. That's what happened today. It was such a pain in the neck. I don't know about you, but no matter how hard I try, the DMV is always going to be one of my hell on earth moments. I can't stand the DMV. I don't think I've ever gone to the DMV in one pass, ever. And this was no exception. But man, getting things done certainly feels good. And it's motivating because it shows me that I'm not procrastinating anymore. So I don't have to be afraid. I got a little bit of control over the things that I must control. And those are the things that are within my control. So I must control them. Everything else is in God's hands right now for now. Guys, I super appreciate you. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Got a lot of positive comments on some of the things that have been happening over the last few days, and it's very encouraging. It really is. And it's hard I understand why people say pink cloud and everything else. I'm not really pink clouding it because I'm kind of a little grimy old man, and I've been down this road before. But I'm encouraged by the fact that I'm embraced back by my community, and they understand, this is what, things happen. For me, wallowing in it, and I would encourage you not to wallow in whatever's going on. Just stop. Follow the map. Get your mindset right. Create action plans with accountability and due dates. Make a promise that you're going to get better and you're going to do whatever you're going to do. And keep that promise. Don't isolate and give back to others. And if you do those things, man, you're going to rise. I believe it. I'm seeing it. And I already see the positive impact of me doing the exact same thing again. And I'm super thankful for that, honestly. Thankful for God. Thankful for my family. I'm thankful for Sam and all the things that have happened. I'm thankful for my parents. I'm thankful for the pain that brought me to peace. And I'm thankful I'm excited to see where the journey heads now that I've got new tools to go back over that hill again. You know, please like and subscribe, share the show, comment if you hear anything that you really like and you want to put in your 2 cents. I'd love to hear it. Make sure you check out the TikTok channel. Definitely a different model. There's a lot of things over there that you can take a look at. They're a little bit more, bite-sized, measurable chunks. You don't have to listen to a whole video of me rambling. You can see quotes and things like that to music that might be useful to you on a day when you're just not feeling that great. And that's why that TikTok channel was designed for that very reason. Just kind of a little injection of hope and possibilities for you throughout the day. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Until the next time we talk, I'm going to do my very best to stay out of trouble, man. I'm going to do everything I possibly can do to stay out of trouble, and I hope you do too.